everywhere. Gone are the days when we have brought the first 3D printing machine in 2005. So that time it was the first 3D printing machine in central India. I think now it is almost in every institute. The people are also finding it quite interesting to use it under the so-called Industry 4.0. So in general, it is all the imagine something in your mind, draw it on a computer, and then if you can draw it on a computer, it will be possible for you to see the physical model directly. So that's how we define the 3D printing or rapid prototyping or even additive manufacturing. We are going to look at all these concepts or this particular term one after the other. But interesting point is that whatever you draw in the computer, you can directly get the physical model. And that's the advantage of the 3D printing. And it has got a tremendous application, not only in engineering, as we will see, also in medical sciences. So it is something like this, something you are drawing on a computer as a 3D model, and it is coming out from the screen itself. So if you are getting a 3D model of a car, and straight away it is coming out of your screen, that's what exactly, in short, we can say. But if at all it is to be explained from the technical aspects, I think this figure is self-explanatory, and it gives the very nice explanation of the rapid prototyping, or what we call as the 3D printing. In the figure, it is shown that if you can get a CAD file, that is what we generally call as a solid modeling, you can slice it into the format called STL file. So as you can see there, it has been sliced into the different layers. And this data, if you send it to the machine will give you directly the physical product. And that's what I call it as a rapid prototyping model. If you look at the text, what is written on the screen, it is mentioned that it is an additive fabrication of 3D physical models directly from CAD data. It's really interesting. But I will be more happy to bring your attention on the last words which are mentioned, without or with least human intervention or tooling. That's an interesting point. That means whenever the additive manufacturing or the rapid prototyping is to be compared with the traditional manufacturing, I think the last two words actually makes the difference. In traditional manufacturing, there are more and more human intervention. Hopefully, the more and more tools which are used. And here, what you'll find that the human intervention and toolings are more. Maybe if we talk about the CNC machines and all that, there also we say that the human interventions are least because most of the things are automated, but you have to use the tools. Here in 3D printing, they say that minimum tools or maybe no tools at all. So that's how exactly the first major difference of the additive manufacturing or the difference between an additive manufacturing and the traditional manufacturing. So this is in general, and what is important here is that why there is a need of the additive manufacturing, why there is a need of such type of the things to happen. This is because we want the more and more product to be developed, more and more innovative product to be developed. And as there is, that's what they say that the survival of the industry is only because of the new product in the field. And therefore, as newer products are to be developed, designed, so you can use this methodology very easily compared to the traditional manufacturing. Because in traditional manufacturing, the whole cycle takes a lot of time if at all the product is to be manufactured, even from the prototype point of view. But in this case, draw it on a computer and simply send the information to the machine will give you the physical model. And that's what we generally say. There is a need of product design and development. This is necessary for the survival of the industry today. So let us look into the next point on our agenda. It's about the product design. That what exactly the product design is, because this is very interesting, as we need to look at how it is going to help us in our medical additive manufacturing also. So if you look at this particular slide, you will find that it is what they say that the first is the concept of the part, which is generally been developed based on the need of the customer. Then once the concept is developed, you can apply the engineering. You can use the engineering design to see that the product is safe and also it is optimized properly. Even the detail analysis, I think everything is already aware. to all of you that we talk about the design optimization, we talk about the design analysis, and ultimately the finite element method and everything the people are aware of. And we generally first check it for the safety of the design. And once this is done, then there is the entrepreneurs or the companies who will be interested in manufacturing that particular part in numbers, and finally that part will go to the customer. So here, if you look from concept to engineering, from engineering to entrepreneurs or the companies and to the customer, you'll find that there are valleys, ravine, or the deep canyon. So this is really very interesting. Like if things seems to be quite interesting, like okay, from concept to engineering and entrepreneurship and the customer, that is how the flow will take place. But everywhere these particular values or the ravine needs to be crossed, and that is one of the major problem which we'll have to look at. The here when we talk about the product design, the very first step concept of the concept, and let us talk about first the concept design. The rest of the things are very well aware of all of us, but let us focus our attention on the concept design. When the concept design, that means how we are going to develop a product, and innovation of the product and everything. That's what I already mentioned to you earlier. So whenever the concept of the product is to be developed, then there are two engineering approaches which must be used. And that is, number one is Archuleta theory, which we call as the trees, theory of inventive or the creative problem solving, they call it as. Now, this trees is a really very interesting theory, or rather the tool. We call it as a tool. And there are around 5, 6 tools available in the trees. All these tools, you can use it to see that how the particular part is to be designed or to be developed. So in the concept, what exactly is the focus? The concept in the focus will be that whatever the need of the customer is, that need, how we are going to satisfy by developing that particular product. And therefore, this is really very critical. Most of the time, it is the brainstorming using the various principles and the tools, as the trees has indicated very nice tools, especially the contradiction matrix or the substance field analysis and all that. And you will find that these tools, you can use it extensively. We are not going to discuss all these things here, because this is not the actually our topic of discussion today. But I suggest all of you to look into this on the web, look on the internet, and see that how these tools of the trees are used. I'm also happy to tell you that in my book, which I have written, Basics of Computer Design and Rapid Prototyping, that is available on the Amazon. So here, this book, I have discussed this trees theory extensively, even with the various examples in the one of the chapter called Product Design. And it will be quite interesting for you to look into that particular aspect. This is the paperback book, which is available, version of the book which is available on the Amazon. But I have also rather created a link wherein you can access my audio book also. So which is free of cost. So you can just access it using a YouTube and just look into my audio book. You'll find that you can listen all the contents of it, and that will be quite interesting for all of you to rather get an idea like how the point can be, like how from the point can be, how is of the theory of inventive problem solving. So this is really very interesting, because in medical additive manufacturing, about the things that we are going to talk about, the innovative product is the ultimate goal, and that particular product should suit to the patient. That's what exactly the case is. So nice studies have also been, case studies have been also discussed in the book. The another approach is the bionics. And this is again a very interesting approach, especially as the name itself indicates, the bionics. The bionics talks about the biology and mimesis. That means imitation of the biology. And that's a very simple thing they talk about. They involve the creative implementation of the biological concepts into the technology products. That means whatever the product you are interested in designing or developing, first look at the nature and find out whether you get a good idea about how the product is to be developed. There are a lot of examples that can be given in the bionics that itself goes as a separate topic in product design. I have also discussed in my book to some extent. But let me tell you here an interesting thing here, that some of the products that you can very easily see, that the burr and the Velcro. So Velcro is based on the concept of the bar. Then the other one is the well tube and turbine blades. So turbine blades are actually designed considering the shape of the well. So all such type of the so-called products that you will see on the net also, or it's available on the under the umbrella of bionics. And here you'll find that there are good cars are also developed. They call it the bionics car. So this has also been developed by the Mercedes Benz. So what I would like to tell you that this is another approach wherein you can start developing the concept of the product. So there are the two interesting points that you will have to look at. The first one is the trees, the tools of the trees that is to be used, where more and more of brainstorming is required to be done. And another one is the bionics. Okay. Now, let us now enter into our core domain. Like, what is this medical additive manufacturing, or rather, what exactly we are supposed to look at from the point of view of additive manufacturing used in medical domain. Okay, so I'm happy to tell you that we all together work with the medical institute in a place near Nagpur called Wardha, and that institute is a medical college, a medical hospital, a very big hospital, and a very big medical college also. And IIT Bombay, VNIT Nagpur, and DIMS Wardha, we are closely associated. Even now, the ISC Bangalore and even IIT Kharagpur, IIT Kanpur, all of us are together. We are working with the DIMS Wardha, and I'm really happy to tell you that this medical institute has actually helped us in entering into this particular domain of medical sciences, and we have used their facilities to show them that how best the engineering can be useful to them. So when you actually look at the 3D printing or the additive manufacturing, I just mentioned the two applications. One is the engineering application, which has been represented by the green arrows, and then by the blue arrows I have just shown the medical applications. Now, it's very interesting for me to tell you only from the point of view of medical application. The one of the interesting point is the medical model, which can be used for the mock surgery directly. These doctors can get the 3D printed model of an organ, which is, we call it as a diseased model, diseased organ, model of a diseased organ, and he can actually operate it as a rehearsal of the surgery. And that's what we talk about the medical model for the mock surgery. He develops the confidence, and therefore nowadays what is seen that the complex surgery surgeons are ready to handle. Then there is an implant design on the area where we are actually working, and then there is an implant manufacturing also. So these medical applications are also playing a very dominant role, and my lecture or my presentation is more towards that aspect. So here, if you look at this particular slide, it is about a standard implant. And these are the metallic implants which are fitted into the patient body. So, you know, in orthopedic sciences, generally they talk about the various implants, especially the knee joint, hip joint, spinal implant, shoulder joint, and the various screws and the plates which are used. And they are all made of metal. So now, you know, look at the medical, these particular implants. So these implants are actually fitted into the patient body. So that is what we talk about the implantation. And therefore, this is considered to be the class 3 devices in Indian terms. We generally call it as a class C or the D devices. So these class 3 devices are always considered to be the high risk devices. And therefore, we like to be very, very careful from the manufacturing aspect of such type of the devices or the implants. Now here, as you can see, I already mentioned you earlier also, like hips implant or the knee implant, they are made of metal. So manufacturing of the implant made of the metal, that means it has to be the engineering science to be used extensively. And that is how generally we enter into this particular domain. So how exactly this standard implant will be manufactured, or rather how exactly we should look at it. Okay. Now, let me show you an interesting point here, that whenever we are manufacturing the medical implant, the confidence on the manufacturer from the developing country, that's what we say. Suppose I'm manufacturing it in the India, so we'll say that it is a manufacturing from the developing country. The doctors have developed a lot of confidence on the manufacturer from the developed country. And that's why if you look at this pie chart, you'll find that the total import is increasing continuously, especially of the medical devices. And it is continuously increasing. Why? Because the people are the doctors community are relying more and more on the products which are coming from the developed country. And another interesting point is that because the developed country has already established their names in the manufacturing of the standard implant, the very few Indian industries are in the market. And therefore, what is happening that the whole market is dominated by the manufacturer from the developed country. Now, what is important for us to look at if the medical devices requirement and industry is to be looked at, let's look at the facts, some figures. So here we will find that the global market is around 400 billion US dollar. In India, it will be around 40,000 crores. And every year it will be going by 15%. And that too very disturbing fact, the one which is indicated there again from the point of from the numerical data, that over 80% devices are currently imported, especially the class 3 devices are imported. And therefore this is a problem for all of us to look at. Then another interesting point is that very few companies, as I already mentioned, less than 300 Indian companies with GMP licenses. Look at our so-called the population, and in that population, only 300 Indian companies with GMP license, 90% are having their turnover less than 50 crores. That means they are also not manufacturing a very big products. So ultimately, this is the problem for all of us, that how exactly we should look at this particular issue of the medical implant. Okay, now let me tell you like how we have looked into this particular aspect. The the computer tomography, everybody is aware of the CT scan. Okay, now the CT scan works on the principle of slicing. I think many of you are aware that the patients are asked to lie on a bed, and that bed goes inside the gantry and just comes out. And they say that, okay, CT scan is done. What exactly it is? It is taking n number of X-rays. And in rapid prototyping and 3D printing, as I already shown you in an earlier figure, it is a layer by layer. So it is a slicing and a layer. There we talk about the virtual slicing, and here also we say that building layer by layer. So does it mean that the CT scan data can be exchanged with the rapid prototyping or the 3D printing machine? Answer is yes, very much. And that is how we have taken this particular route into consideration, that how best we can use the data from the CT scan to get the part manufactured and using a 3D printing, and ultimately use certain manufacturing process to get a metal part. So if you look at our figure, I think with the figure itself, it is self-explanatory. We have taken the data of a bone and then send it to the RP machine, the CT scan data of the bone, send it to the RP machine, and RP machine has given us the so-called ABS model of that bone. Now we have used it as a pattern and used the casting approach, and finally the implant is manufactured, that particular bone is manufactured. And you can see that particular figure. If you can see my cursor here, this is the first one we have manufactured in 2006. And we have shown successfully that it is possible to get a metal part from the data of the organ which is obtained from the CT scan machine. I'm happy to tell you that then we have successfully completed this R&D project. If you look at this particular slide, it is mentioned that development and the testing of customized joint replacement implants using layer manufacturing. Now remember here, we are talking about now customized joint implant. That means I have shown you the figure of a standard implant. Now we have actually started working on a customized joint implant. So let me quickly tell you about this particular project. If you look at this particular project, it is like a cycle. We don't want that cycle to be completed. That means we don't want a healthy individual to meet with the accident or the patient. But if at all it happens, then you have to take a CT scan of the patient, get its computer data, ultimately get the medical imaging and see that the CAD data is possible for you to develop. That means getting a computer-aided design data of a medical organ and then send it to the rapid prototyping machine. And this rapid prototyping machine will actually help us in getting is the medical model in physical form, to which we generally call it the pattern, and then use the casting simulation software to set all the parameters for of a casting of that implant, and then get that particular metallic implant manufactured, which will be customized. Remember, this is customized. That means shooting to the patient's anatomy. And then we can test it and ultimately use in surgery to fit it into the individual to make him the healthy again. Now, let me quickly show you about some of the cases that we handled. These are all the customized implant. Okay. Here, this is the first case study that we have handled, to which we call it the TMJ for bony ankylosis. TMJ stands for the temporomandibular joint. Now, you can see that this particular joint we have developed using the 3D printing and the rapid prototyping assisted so-called manufacturing. So here you can see, if you look at this particular figure, we have taken the diseased model, then ultimately myself and the doctors, we have started interacting that what type of the joint we should first develop. You can see here, I have just, we have used the clay model to just set the form of the part. This is what we generally call as the concept, because the doctors will have a major role to play in that. And once, and he is very comfortable using the clay. So then we have reverse engineered it, got the 3D printed model, again got the permutation combination of done by, of that particular product, finally manufactured this metallic implant, and that we have fitted into the patient body. So this is the customized one. That means suiting to the patient's anatomy. So you can see here, the girl, she was actually suffering from the bony ankylosis. She was not in a position to open her mouth because of the fusing of that particular joint. But then by fitting that particular metallic implant, she was in a position to open the mouth and finally leading a very normal life. So this is what we have already published in Rapid Prototyping Journal, volume 17, number 5, 2011. Please do go through that. And all the details about the various steps that we have followed, you can very nicely read it. I'm happy to tell you that the use of the 3D printing in developing such type of the customized metallic implant is the key. And remember here that had the 3D printing would not have been there, it would not have been possible for the doctors to design the implant as he wishes. And ultimately, it would not be possible for him to rather get the implant manufactured also as the 3D printing, if the 3D printing was not available. So this is all the 3D printing. The next interesting, the case study is about the customized metatarsopharyngeal joint implant. This is again developed for the patient, and we have developed that using the same methodology of using the doctor's concept, and even we have actually got the using an ANSYS software, the stresses that gets developed, and just to see that the that particular implant sustains the load on it, we have fitted into the patient body, and you can see that we have again published the same result in 2014 in Rapid Prototyping Journal Volume 20. I'll be really happy if you can just go through it, and you can see that it is a wonderful experience of use amalgamating the engineering and medical together for some societal benefit. We have also used this wonderful case study wherein we have developed an implant for the mandible which is affected by the malignant tumor. And then we have, in head and neck cancer, the very first option is to resect that particular part. And that is what they do. But then when the part is resected, that which is having a tumor, so the face will get disturbed. It is what we call it the defacing. And in that scenario, we need to develop an implant which actually will take care of the void that gets formed because of the resection of the bone. And that's what exactly we had done. And we have fitted this implant into the patient body. This is complete detail is presented in the Journal of Maxillofacial Surgery, volume 71, number 2, 2013. So this we have worked with the dental surgeon, and it was a wonderful case. And that actually shows that how this medical fraternity is getting the advantage of the 3D printing, or what we generally call as the additive manufacturing. Then I'm also happy to tell you that we have then guided the project wherein the customized surgical guide for the customized implant placement that has been developed. So this is one of my PhD students who has actually worked on it, because he has seen that how it was difficult for the surgeon to resect that particular part which is suffering from the tumor, and then ultimately finding out that which is the perfect implant to be fitted there. So all these things he has actually studied thoroughly, and then he has developed a surgical guide. That means it's a flexible one, and ultimately it is possible for the doctor to look into the slot where he can use the scalpel and actually cut that particular portion and then fit the implant also, which is developed using the softwares like Mimics. So here, this is all the some of the nice cases that we have done. The one of the interesting point about which I think it will be quite interesting to look at is the tissue engineering. Now, what exactly the tissue engineering is? I think this must be known to many of you, but if at all it is not, I would like to just quickly show you some of the slides where you can see that if there is a major bone defect, then we simply say that in that major bone defect, we are going to put the implant. Otherwise also, now, as rightly mentioned, that the metal is always a problem, because it, as you can see here, the metallic implant causes a metalysis. Then secondly, metal is also heavy and integration is very slow. So ultimately, though the metallic implant is the gold standard today, but that is not a perfect treatment, because that will also lead to another problem which we generally call as the stress shielding. The stress shielding also makes the implant loosen in long run. So what is actually mentioned in the medical literature, they say that the bone is to be replaced by bone. So actually the tissue engineering talks about the same. It says that the tissue are to be regenerated in the portion where you need an implant. And if you can do that, it is like you are developing a bone, you are developing an organ, and that's what exactly the case is. And that is what we generally do it in case of tissue engineering. We develop what is called as the scaffold. Scaffold is nothing but a meshy area. You can see here, if you can focus your attention on the cursor, ceramic scaffold. That means a scaffold which is having some holes in it, and there you allow the cells to grow. And if the cells will start growing inside the scaffold, and in long run that scaffold gets degraded, then you will find that ultimately you will get the complete part developed with the bone tissue. And I'm talking about a bone tissue regeneration only at this moment. So this is a very interesting point, and that is what we are also working at VNIT. So again, I'm going to show you the bone tissue engineering that we are practicing in VNIT. So here again, we don't want this particular cycle to complete. We don't want a healthy individual met with an accident. Here, what we generally do that we actually take a CT scan of the part and then convert that particular, find out that what is the best shape of the implant that is to be fitted. But then after that, we don't use the 3D printing, but we use 3D bioplotter. So this 3D bioplotter actually develop the scaffold. And in that scaffold, if you can now put these stem cells or these cells, then you will find that slowly they will start proliferating. And finally, it will be possible for us to get a scaffold loaded with the bony cells. And that will actually serve a very interesting so-called a solution for the metallic implant. Why? Because in the metallic implant, as I already mentioned to you, stress shielding was the major problem and the metal implant gets loosened. Here, the stress shielding problem can be overcome. So this is how the whole approach of the bone tissue engineering at VNIT, as I already mentioned to you, that we do have a very good bone tissue engineering lab. Please do visit and see that how exactly we are trying our best to develop such things. Though this is on a research stage at this moment, but it has a long impact because ultimately I think you are all aware that the organ transplantation is a big issue, because there are very few donors and very large number of acceptors. So ultimately the many people, they die just because the organs are not available. And so what is the solution to that? The solution to that is the tissue engineering. And that's what we generally say, organs grown in the lab is possible through this particular approach, though it will take some more time. But then if we can research in this particular domain, the day is not far off when it will be possible to develop an organ in the lab and finally implant that organ into the patient body. So this is how the thing is. Let me show you some quick figures here, that this is the 3D bioplotter which we operate in our VNIT in tissue engineering lab. You can see here, if you can see my cursor, that this is the scaffold that gets developed, and it actually is the logical extensions of the 3D printing. So these are all the so-called scaffold. You can see the various architectures of the scaffold that have been developed by my student, 0, 60, 120 degrees. These are the different types of the architecture he has tried in his so-called PhD work, and ultimately shown that which architecture is the best for the cell proliferation. And ultimately, there are so many other factors to be considered when the scaffold is to be fabricated. I'm happy to tell you that these three students of mine, Dr. Sandeep Dahake, Neha, and Dr. Pranav, they have actually worked extensively in this particular domain. As I already mentioned to you, Dr. Sandeep has actually worked in that particular domain of developing the surgical guide. Then Neha has worked in so-called devices for detecting the glaucoma using the tools of the trees. Then Dr. Pranav has actually used, as I already mentioned to you, the various scaffold fabrication architecture, and all of them have applied for the BIRAC big grant. The Sandeep and Neha got the big grant and they have established their company. The Dr. Pranav has got the IIGP 2.0 award, and ultimately also developed his company called CU, the Lucid Implants, the Oko Eye Care, and Research Limited. So this is really something, a good achievement in the engineering institute. Why? Because whenever we ask the students to work on a research, that is generally, these are all the students who are actually working on a PhD research. So research deployment is important. That means how your research is useful to the society. That is where we'll have to focus our attention on. And that's how exactly the thing has happened. Like all these guys, they were actually working on this in this particular research domain of biomedical engineering. All of them got the grants, and finally they have started the company. Actually, that's what exactly we try to focus the attention of all the engineering institute under the theme called Engineer Your Research for Startup. We say that if at all you are doing a research, better see that you should be in a position to start your own company. And that is how the thing which generally goes, that more and more startups coming up will help us in generating more and more employment. And this is what exactly the picture, even the big thinkers like Nandan Nilekani and all that they said that the large players like Tatas or Birlas, they cannot create n number of jobs. But small players, that means small startups, if at all they're creating only few jobs, it is possible for us to create millions of jobs. And that's what exactly the picture is. We do want that there should be more and more PhD students, but the PhD students should not go and hunting for the job, but they should start their own company based on the research. Now, let me quickly tell you here that why they have got this particular easily means, in the sense there was a lot of competition, but how they got the grant. I know the case of Dr. Sandeep and Neha very well. Like when they have applied and when they were interviewed, not only once or twice, but it is thrice. And then every time they were having their research based along with that, saying that, and during the PhD, I have completed this much part, and therefore I'm thinking of starting my own company. Actually, that helped them. The people, those who are in the jury, actually started thinking about this is not just the research based on something that has come to his mind, but it is actually the work done by him for the last 4 or 5 years, and that is actually has yielded some results, and he wants to deploy that particular result. So I hope the thing should be moved in this particular manner everywhere. And I always used to say, whenever I used to deliver a lecture, that many institutes nowadays have got the autonomy, and they say that this time we are awarding PhDs to these many numbers of students, that many numbers of students. And then when I actually look at the big institutes, they say that this time we are awarding 100 PhDs and all that. I always appreciate them. Like, okay, you are guiding so many PhDs, or you are giving PhDs to so many students, but how many out of them are actually the so-called job creator? Say 100 PhDs awarded, and if you take 10 PhDs and actually started a company, that is what exactly the picture we wish to see in India. So let us now enter into the another interesting approach, which we call as an AI and ML approaches. I think that's a very nice title that you are given to your FDB. And let us look at it, that what is this AI and machine learning approaches, especially in this medical additive manufacturing, or in general the manufacturing. Now here, whenever you talk about the manufacturing, there are various routes. Like, as you know, we talk about the additive one, layer by layer. Then there is a subtractive one, the cutting tool, machining, and all that. Then you talk about the formatting. Formative, that means the mold is getting, the liquid metal is poured in it, and all that. So here, these are all the different types of the routes that we follow in case of a manufacturing. Okay, so what are the problems and what are the challenges in every so-called processes? If you look at the additive, it is mentioned that direct CAD to part best for one part, if at all it is one. But if you want to go for the more and more material parts, the poor surface finish is one of the problem. There will be controlled raw materials, and the equipment is very expensive. Look at the subtractive. We say that it is an excellent surface finish, best for the simple parts, but tool path and the setup time, material wastage, high skill requirement is another problem. In case of a formative, which is very interesting when you talk about the intricate shapes, based for large order size and all that. But then the tooling development time, energy wastage, high skill requirement are all under the challenges that we need to face. So which one we should adopt? Additive, subtractive, format, and all that. So we'll say that we should take the best of everything. And that's what we take. How best you can take the help of the all together and see that the ultimately the part produced will be best, and there will not be major challenges to be handled. Now let me show you again from a manufacturing perspective, that when you actually see the manufacturing imperative for the paradigm shift, the first one is the machine tool. Secondly, then the large factory assembly lines, robotic automation. This is how the industrial revolution has started. Though I think we talk about the industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0, but we generally look at it from this particular angle. Earlier it was the machine tools. Later on, it was the large factories and assembly lines. There was an issue of environmental issue. Then robotics and automation, as it has come, then there becomes employmental issues. And now today, when you talk about industry 4.0, we talk about the sustainable manufacturing. Now here, the interesting point is that in from 3 to 4, there is a disruptive technology. What is that? The first one is the 3D printing, the one which we are now very much aware of. Then there are some need of some low cost sensors which are also there, and then cloud and data analytics. Now remember here, when we talk about all these things, we actually get a sense of how best we can enter into the sustainable manufacturing. That means there is a need of using the 3D printing. You'll have to get the low cost sensors so that you can generate the more and more data. And once the data is generated, you have to analyze that data to see that the decision making or the decision support system is well established, so that there will not be any defective product. And at the same time, whatever the need of, whether it is a cost or whether it is an environmental issues or employment, everything is taken care of. Now, when you actually enter into this 4, then there is an interesting point we call about smart manufacturing. What is smart manufacturing? It is about the natural resources to be properly used, human capital to be properly used, SMEs clusters, digital infrastructures. All these things are getting attached to the smart manufacturing. And in India, we are required to look it from this particular aspect. Okay, so let me quickly tell you how exactly we have entered into this particular smart manufacturing aspect. So this is a research paper which is more where I'm happy to show you, like where we have shown that how the technology transfer is possible from 3D printing to the manufacturing, rapid manufacturing. Okay, so this is the patent that we have published long back, and it is granted also. that is how best it is possible to get the die manufacture using a 3D printing, which was a new thing using a sand casting. But what is interesting for me to tell you that based on this, we have formed a smart foundry group. Now, this is a smart foundry group where you will find that not only the IITs or NITs or the engineering colleges, but even the institute to which we generally call as CSR institutes are also in the picture. And around 14 institutes all over India, we were together and we have started this particular project called Smart Foundry. Now, smart is not the word there, English word, but it is actually, I'll show you the long form of that soon. But I'm happy to tell you that at this end, where you can see my cursor, the Professor B. Ravi of IIT Bombay, he is the person who has actually developed this particular concept. And he actually asked all of us to come together and develop this particular concept of smart foundry. And what exactly it is, I'm going to show you quickly. We also call it as a smart group, all we are together. So here, we actually started talking from the changing the face of metal casting. What was the problem with the metal casting? When you talk about any metal casting industry, it is very dirty. It is difficult to rather get the properly process executed, and it is also dangerous. We wish to rather change it to a smart one, scalable and sustainable. Now, I'm happy to tell you that what exactly the smart foundry is. That's how our CAD/CAM center, you can see there we have actually displayed the smart foundry board also. There you'll see that the smart talks about the sustainable metal casting by advanced research and technology. That means the metal casting is to be sustainable. At the same time, how the research and technology can be used there. That means right from the product development point of view. So let us now come back to our so-called metal implant, and then how we are looking at it from the smart foundry perspective. So medical devices, as I already mentioned to you, that they are classified into various groups like class 1, class 2, class 3, like that. But here you will find that they are from the A, B, C, D. This is actually the Indian classification. 1, 2, 3 is an international classification. So it is one and the same. Only thing is that the class C and class D devices, as I already mentioned you here, that is clubbed together as a class 3 devices in the international level. They are all high-risk devices. That means which are actually implanted into the patient body. So these medical devices, we have rather looked from the point of view of our implant manufacturing. And if you look at this, what is interesting is that whenever implant is to be fitted into the patient body, who is important? It is actually fitted into the patient body, but ultimately it is the surgeon who is important because he is implanting that. So surgeon will always get the due credit of selecting the implant. Now, if at all the implant like a hip implant is to be selected, that means this is a striker implant which is imported, and there is another implant called the suppose Sharma implant, that means done by the developed by the Indian company. So these two implants, the doctors are or rather if at all the patient is asked that which implants is to be fitted, he will always the doctor, and doctor is now confused that which one I should have, whether the imported one or whether it is the so-called Indian one. Now this is where exactly we'll have to look into. Now there, I'm happy to tell you that this orthopedic implants, this needs to be properly looked at from a manufacturing aspect. What is that? The first we say that we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now you can see this particular figure. There you can see that the part is to be manufactured in India, but at the same time it should have the premium quality. That means it should have the quality set, matching with the international standard. So it is not so simple. That is number one. So whenever we are entering into the any class C or D product, that means the high risk product, it is necessary for us to see that its quality should match with the international level, and especially when you are talking about the medical implant. So here the first thing is that there should not be any defect in the part. We can't even think of a defect in the metallic implant, and therefore the first thing what we'll have to look at, that how best it will be possible for me to manufacture the implant which will not have any defect. That means it will have the quality same as that of the international standard, and then also matching with their cost. So that is number one. Number two, the doctor. The doctor should have the full confidence in you. That means now, if at all you say that my implant is okay, that's how exactly I showed you in earlier figure also, the doctor is confused. But then doctor himself is saying, no, the Indian product is better. I hope that particular confidence will have to develop. And that is what we are trying our best from the smartphone or this particular smart approach. What is this smart, or rather, how exactly this will be possible for us to get it done? Now, here, let me show you the in at a glance, like what exactly we are trying from the point of view of metal casting. You can see the figure very nicely here, that the design and process simulation, that means the complete simulation of the part to be casted, is possible to be done using the casting simulation software. We have used the AutoCAD simulation software, and there what you will find that you can get the complete methoding and everything done in the simulation software, so that the part that will be casted will be defect free. At the same time, what will be the cost of the product, everything is possible for us to actually know from the simulation software. That's what is there. Then 3D printing of the pattern. Yes, the pattern will be 3D printed. They are not the pattern makers will be there, or there will be a pattern shop. It will be 3D printed, when that's how the part which is developed on the computer, sending into the 3D printing machine, directly getting a physical model is important. There will be least or no human intervention, and then ultimately you can use the melting and gravity casting, use the so-called molding process, and finally see that the fitting using the finishing problem and fitting, all this will be available on the screen. So a person who is actually owning an industry or the metal casting industry will be in a position to see on the platform what exactly is happening about the product that is being manufactured. Okay, that is being casted. Now let me quickly show you the prototype system of that whole product system is possible. So we say that cal to part in 8 hours. An interesting point is there, as you can see the last line, the cost of the part is 10% of the 3D metal printing. Many of you must be aware of that there is a 3D metal printing also. Now, in developing countries, generally, it is not justified to use the 3D metal printing because it is very costly affair, and at the same time, maintenance is very problematic. But then, can you think of doing the 3D printing without laser, and then ultimately use the US? I think it will be quite interesting. So we say that it's 100% indigenous technology. That is what we have started developing. And ultimately, what you'll find that the whole picture will be more clear to you when you actually see this particular slide. There it is a designing of the part, then there is a manufacturing of the part, then there is a simulation. All these things are very well known to all of you. Manufacturing aspect is also known. But now we will be more happy to look at what is this monitoring and analytics. Now here, the last line makes the sense. Adding intelligence to manufacturing using cloud, big data from sensors and analytics. Now look at the last one, monitoring and analytics. What is being indicated there? That there is a foundry data analytics engine. That means what? The complete analysis, so the complete design and the development and the simulation of the part is possible using the casting simulation software. You can also know how much will be the time of the how much will the temperature of metal to be poured, what will be the even ambient temperature, everything you can set it on the simulation software, and you'll come to know that the defect-free product is possible to get it on the computer. But is it possible to see that the same thing is executed, or same thing is feasible on the shop floor? The shop floor may have a different so-called parameters. If that is the case, how do you rather change the whole approach? so that the part remains defect free. That is what exactly the foundry data analytics engines talks about. And there comes the AI and ML in much more if they have useful. So it is the generating the data, that's what is interesting, and then analyzing the data. So you have to generate more and more data and then analyze the data so that it will be possible for you to develop a decision support system which is helpful to you in getting the defect-free fault. So quickly, I can show you some of the things related to the AI. I hope that many of you must be aware of. We are just demystifying the AI. AI has three types. When we talk about the narrow intelligence, artificial narrow intelligence, we talk about a generative AI, and then we talk about the general intelligence. So it is a ANI, generative AI, and AGI. Now here, I hope that many of you must be aware of the generative AGI, especially the chat GPT is very popular and many of such types of the engines are possible. So generative AI hardly generative artificial intelligence hardly need an introduction. But artificial narrow intelligence, yes, especially the smart speaker, self-driving spark, web search, AI in farming, factories, AI in any applications of engineering, that's what we generally call as narrow intelligence. And artificial general intelligence, that means do anything a human can. So out of that, you can see here, the artificial general intelligence is really very tough because you will have to be very, very careful as you are now competing with the human. But narrow intelligence, to which we generally call it the ANI, is possible. That is because if you can generate the data, then you can develop the model which will actually help you in getting the decision made. So that's what exactly we always talk about whenever we talk about in machine learning. There are two types of the data. One is the unstructured data, the one which you can see here, the images, audio, text, and all that. And another one is the structured data. That means where you will have the all data in the form of a numbers, the way which is introduced shown there, the various types of the examples are given. Like suppose, for example, the structured data of the house size, number of bedrooms, price, everything. If you can note it down properly, then the structured data can be very easily used to develop an AI engine. And that's what exactly, if you again go back and see the last slide there, the narrow intelligence, that's what we talk about intelligence. There, the structured data is very useful. And unstructured data is mostly for the generative AI, generative AI and the general uh, um, the intelligence. So we are now focusing more towards the structured data. That means now it is necessary to develop the data and find out like how best you can develop an AI engine. So in our Smart Foundry, we are trying our best to generate the data and ultimately try to develop a model so that, as I already mentioned to you, that on the simulation software, the data for the manufacturing of the part is already set, and we are trying to mimic it on the shop floor. But if something is not possible to miss, then what are the other parameters to be changed so that finally the part remains non-defective? So all these things is a very challenging field, but remember, it has got a tremendous application. And that is how the AI can be used extensively. But one point, very nice things, I just read it in the Economic Times just 2 days back. What they say that when people say they are partnering with AI, that means they say that we are using this AI and all that, most of them means they are using AI to do their work. What he said, use AI to elevate your work, not create it. That means what? If at all the AI is to be used, try to generate the data and see that generation of the data, if you can get the things developed, which will help you in your model. So for example, implant manufacturing, that's what we are talking about. So ultimately that particular data is related to that particular customized implant. And if you can now develop that particular AI model, you will find that the next time, whenever such type of the implant is to be developed, it will come out with the non-defective feature. So this is very interesting. Now, what are the salient features of our Smart Foundry? I will be more happy to discuss with you quickly. So that's what we, again, remember here, I'm talking about a customized orthopedic implant. So it is a use of the 3D printer. That's number one. Number two, use of simulation software, AutoCast. Then automation in mold preparation and melting and pouring. Yes. One is data analytics, and last is 25 by 25 by 25. So let me quickly show you what exactly all these features are. When I say use of the 3D printer, yes, we can get the pattern in the casting, and ultimately using the 3D printing, the CT scan data to be transferred, finally getting a model. That's what we already discussed. Then, use of the 3D printer for the design and implant and mock surgery. That also I already mentioned to you. Then the simulation software, yes, because it will help you, as you can see there, the parameters required to be maintained in the field on the shop floor to get a defect-free product, which is also possible for you to get it on the simulation software. Secondly, what is the cost of the defect-free product, which will known to you before manufacturing, which is important prior to the medical treatment of the patient, as this is really very interesting. Like whenever any implant is being manufactured, the first thing the doctor or the patient would like to know, what is the cost of that particular product. This is possible for you to show on the simulation software itself, and then that is one of the very nice use of the simulation software. And number three, attempt to get the defect free product using FDM and AutoCast. As I already mentioned to you, you may get to the pattern making, or maybe you can get completely the methoding done using the 3D printing, and ultimately getting it mimicked in the shop floor also. So one of the paper, you can always go through the feasibility study of manufacturing using rapid prototyping FDM approach, written by myself and one of the IIT student. So this is available. You can go through that, where we have shown how it will be possible to get a defect-free product directly using the FDM. Okay, so this is about the use of simulation software. About the 25 by 25 by 25, I think that's what exactly we say. 25 means it is the 25 years engineer having a 25-meter square area, and the 25 lakhs of the financial resources will be in a position to start his own company, and that is a unit, and he will be a person who can show the feasibility of an innovative product that is to be manufactured. Now, innovative product, I already mentioned you, already shown you, especially the temporomandibular joint, metatarsophalangeal joint, even the implant for the cancer patient. These are all innovative. They are not available on the shelf. You will have to develop it based on the interaction with the doctors. So it is possible for the engineers to show the feasibility of such type of the product, so that he can then showcase it to the angels or the venture capitalists, and ultimately will be in a position to start his own company. So that's what we talk about, the job creation. That means he will be in a position to start his own company. So ultimately that is a startup. And that's how I already shown to you some of the nice cases from our institute itself. So can we think of in this particular domain and see that the smart frontal feature will be useful in the metallic implants that are to be developed, designed in India, and for the patients, or that is what we generally call the customization. So as I already mentioned there, the focus on design and manufacturing of the innovative product, that is the customized medical implant, is very interesting. Customization is very important. That means implant designed for that particular patient, or suiting to that patient's anatomy. It is not a standard implant which are available on the shelf and you go and just purchase it. It is to be designed and developed so that that patient only will get benefited. Then secondly, serving the needs of medical fraternity in semi-urban and rural sector in India. Now, let me quickly tell you about this point. Like I have seen, or I interacted with many doctors in rural sector, and I found them, they are really very intelligent. They are very skillful. But as they have a lot of good ideas about the various implants to be manufactured. But as they don't have the ecosystem, therefore their concept remains there itself, there in their mind itself. But if you can such type of the the 25 by 25 by 25 are available in every sector, or in every town or the villages, I think the doctors can always show how that is feasible, and then ultimately the implant manufacturing is possible to proceed further. So finally, the conclusion, I hope it will be quite interesting for me to talk about the conclusion, because I should give more time for the discussion also later on. But I'm happy to tell you that the conclusion I have not shown to the text, but more to the figures or the picture. So because I think, the picture is worth 1,000 words, and therefore I think the conclusion will be quite interesting. And another interesting point that I'll have to always look at, the conclusion should be remembered forever. Okay. So here the conclusion is like this orange tree, because in Nagpur we have a lot of oranges. So here it's like a Batik VNIT, our project that we generally show in the form of an orange tree. There we show that we allow the students or the innovators to come as a birds and sit on our tree of Batik VNIT, so that once they come and sit on that, then the flowers will blossom. That is what we so call about a startup. And this startup will yield the fruits, that is nothing but the orange fruit, which we call as the innovative medical devices, which will be actually plugged by the people using this Atmanirbhar Bharat ladder, and the society will be happy. And all this thing is possible because of the sun, which is Betik IIT Bombay, with which we are collaborating. So ultimately, this is the tree which we generally show. But now I go one more stage ahead. That means the generalization of this tree. Though this is for our Betik VNIT, but in general, what exactly should be our approach? Now, here I show you here the banyan tree. Now, banyan tree is really very interesting. You know that the if you look at this, we say that the product and processes are actually the roots of the banyan tree. And this banyan tree, we using the product and processes will develop a product for the society. That means our tree itself, the trunk of the tree. Now, that product for society, once it is in the picture or once it is in the field, then you have to you ask the innovators or students to come and sit on that, work on that particular product, and use various tools like 3D printing, the way we have seen, then maybe AI and ML, the way which we have already discussed, then the automation, and maybe the simulation software, about which again we have discussed, maybe the green manufacturing, like how the environment will not get affected because of our process, or the green business process management. All these things, if at all we can use in the product for society, with the students and innovators coming together, it will be possible for us only with the engineering colleges. And that's how I'm showing it here, the sun as the engineering colleges. And if that is possible, then as in the banyan tree, the roots comes out from the branches. So we say that that is nothing but the innovative products. So these innovative products will be developed, and ultimately they will again go back into the system for the society. So that the product for society has come at the first one. Finally, the innovative products will come with this all together, and ultimately it will be possible for us to develop an ecosystem, which we generally talk about, the ecosystem for the manufacturing of the product in the today's world. Now, though everything is shown nicely here, but I will be more happy if I can show you with some example here. Okay, so again, the same banyan tree, but now just like here, the parts and products of the car, because of the mechanical engineering, I have just taken the car as an example of a car, that product and processes of the car. So you make a car, and that car is in the picture. Okay, that is in the society. Now, then you allow the again innovator students to come into the picture, and then use the various tools, the one which I already mentioned. And then there will be what is called as the innovative product, like the electric car or maybe the driverless car. And that is all these things is indicating that you have to use all this thing together to get the innovative product. And all this, remember, one thing we have forgotten here to show, these are the engineering colleges. That means every engineering college has to contribute the ecosystem in this manner. Then only this thing will be possible, and you will find that the purpose of Atmanirbhar Bharat, Vikasit Bharat of 1947, as the indicated by Prime Minister, will be possible. Now, I wish to say that if this is an ecosystem to be developed, then remember here, if you can see this particular conclusion, the last one, this is a great banyan tree in Kolkata. Now you can see that this is not a forest, but actually it is a single tree in India. It spans around 4.67 acres, 80 feet tall, and over 220 years old. What is this banyan tree? It sustained two cyclones up till now, and spreading every year. So that is what is the wish list. So if you look at the last line of the wish list from my side, or my wish is that the ancient India, I'm going to read it for you. Ancient India was revered across the world as a land of wisdom, where intellect was nurtured and service to society was a way of life. Okay. May every institute of higher learning, like our technical institute, draw inspiration from this mighty banyan tree, deep rooted, expansive, and life giving, and strive to elevate India to its rightful greatness once more. That means we have to see that we were great in ancient India, so we will remain great again. That's what exactly the so-called conclusion from my side. Thank you very much for your patience hearing. I'll be happy to interact with you for any questions. Thank you. Should I close that? Sorry. Yeah, can you? I'm just. Is it okay? Stop sharing. Let me stop sharing first. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it
just
okay?
yeah, sir, fine, fine. Everything is
Yeah.
good.
So I'm
So
open
just
for any questions. Yeah,
yeah, sir, just
please.
I'm turning on participants to turn their mic on. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
So I turned it off because they don't get disturbed between. So participants,
Okay.
your mic is on, so you can ask any questions or interact with the professor. So I request all to utilize this opportunity to interact at this platform, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can also drop a question, we will get back. The chat box also is active.
Sir,
Uh,
Abhay Kumar, sir.
yeah. Yeah. Please. Please. Yeah.
Sir, today session is very nice, sir. Very effective also,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank
Performance,
you.
sir,
Thank
very
you.
nice, sir. Super, super, sir. I am excited and
Okay.
appreciated, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Please
Doctor.
be in touch. Yeah, please be in touch and please do visit our CAD/CAM center anytime. It's like, I always used to say that the whatever I say, whether it is we are effectively carrying it out there or not, that you should see it from your own eyes. Okay. So please do come and see that. It will be quite interesting for me. We will interact with you and we need a good interaction also in long run.
Sir, there is a question in the chat box. Sir. Just I'm reading out. Well, good
Yeah, yeah.
afternoon.
Please,
Good
please.
afternoon, sir. How can medical institutions and manufacturers prepare for the upcoming AI-driven transformation in 3D printing? The question was by Lakshmi Kumar.
Okay. And now, this AI is definitely a disruptive. But then, first thing everyone has to remember that whenever wish to use the AI in medical domain, especially in health sector, the first thing, as I already mentioned to you there in the AI, that you have to generate a data first, and that data needs to be analyzed. Nowadays, the lot of things have been discussed a lot about AI, but if you don't generate the data, it becomes rather very difficult to develop a system. Ultimately, what we are doing with the AI, we are developing a decision making system or maybe decision support system. So what you need to look at whenever you enter into the domain like a 3D printing, the first thing that you will have to look at, that how it will be possible for you to get a defective free product, and that too, part to be compared with the traditional manufacturer. Now the parts are already being manufactured using a traditional manufacturing, and now you want to use that in a 3D printing. So the you had to compare the traditional manufacturing with the additive manufacturing. Remember, here we are using it now in a manufacturing. That means we are using more numbers of so-called parts. So let me tell you an interesting thing here. Professor Hart of the MIT Boston, he has developed a wonderful so-called Excel sheet, and he has shown that how it will be possible for you to justify the additive manufacturing in medical domain. Especially, they say that the complexity comes free in additive manufacturing, which is the problem in case of a traditional manufacturing. And there you'll find that the if we can have such type of the newer and newer so-called products having a to be suited with the patient's anatomy, then additive manufacturing is the only way out. And for that, I hope, as I already mentioned to you in my lecture itself, that the metal is always taken with a pinch of salt. because ultimately, as I already mentioned you in one of my slide, that the bone is to be replaced by bone. So we are entering into the tissue engineering aspect. So there we are developing the scaffold, and ultimately how best it will be possible for us to develop the complete implant made of bone. Now there AI plays a very dominant role, because what type of the how the scaffold is to be fabricated. That means especially the material combination, especially when you talk about, say for example, ceramic scaffold, then there are the materials called HA and TCP, which are used extensively. So how best you can use this HA-TCP combination perfectly, so that there will be the degradation of the scaffold, at the same time the cell proliferation rate and all that. I think the AI plays a dominant role in such activity. So a lot of research is going on, even in our VNIT also and everywhere, where they are actually developing a data. And finally, getting the data generated and fed to the 3D bioplotter, so that that scaffold that gets fabricated will be suiting to the patient's anatomy. At the same time, that is also degrading, matching with the rate of cell proliferation. So there AI is used as extensively, and that's how we are entering into that domain of AI in tissue engineering. That is one of the major role that will be played. And in health sector, the robotic surgery and all that, that is coming into the field very fast. There also the AI will play a very dominant role. But again, you have to be very, very careful. You will have to see that whether the data is properly generated. The AI tool or the AI engine that is developed is based on the reliable data and not on the fictitious data. So ultimately, it should not happen that we are developing an AI tool, but it is not giving us the correct decision. That we'll have to take care. Okay, that's how we generally call it AI ethics. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. We are, yes, sir. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Okay.
Sir, Lakshmi is conveying a thank you for you. So, others who
Okay.
are here, please interact. You have a good time. So you can know your queries. It is a nice platform to interact. Utilize this opportunity which is provided.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, I would like to ask you for the core areas where I can, or the topics where I should take for doing MTech and my PhD, sir, in artificial or in additive manufacturing.
Additive manufacturing.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
The topic of dissertation or whatever you say, I think it will be really very tough to rather inform you about. But then, what is important? This additive manufacturing is important in two major fields. One is, as I already discussed with you, is the implant manufacturing, and another one is in the aeronautical engineering. In aeronautical engineering, or whether you talk about implant engineering or aeronautical engineering, the defects are not at all accepted, and therefore you will have to always see that how best the additive manufacturing will take care of that. The metal 3D printing is very well known to all of you. So see the difference in a traditional manufacturing. If you compare it with the casting, the traditional manufacturing like a casting, you will have to start from a scratch, like a scrap. You take it and you melt it and all that. That scrap itself is having a lot of impurities, and therefore the whole process leads to some problem here and there, and that is how the many of you are aware of the casting defect. But look at the 3D printed part, metal 3D printed part. There you will find that you start taking raw material as a pure form of a powder of the stainless steel or the titanium, whatever it is. And using that, you will be in a position to get the part which will definitely defect free. At least there will not be material impurity in that. That's number one. Number two, very interesting point is the characterization of the material. That is what we generally are aware of in traditional manufacturing. You will have to also look into this particular aspect in additive manufacturing, that how best the characterization of the material plays an important role, especially when you are talking about the metal 3D printing, that what will be the so-called power of the lasers that you are using, what type of a guidance system of the laser you are using. All these things matters a lot, because that everything actually is responsible for changing the characterization of the material. So I think the best topic, if you can do it, is the either enter into this metal 3D printing, where you will have to interact with the industries and see that how best you can get the product, which will be comparing or will be compatible with the traditional manufacturing. That's number one. As I already mentioned to you, the good charts which are given by the Professor Hart and all that, you can definitely use it and show to the people that that means to the industry that the additive manufacturing is better than the traditional manufacturing when the so-called the complexity comes into the picture. That's number one. Number two, which you can use it, is the additive manufacturing from the point of view like FDM. That means rapid prototyping assisted, or maybe we can say FDM assisted manufacturing. It's another area where you can always see that, as I already mentioned to you in Smart Foundry, we use the pattern first by using the 3D printing and later on carrying out the complete automation so that the parts produced at the end is defect free. And that too, from the point of view, the Smart Foundry aspect that I have mentioned to you, like how you can use the data analytics, artificial intelligence and MI in that, generating the data. I think that's a wonderful thing. What I feel that once you start entering into this particular domain, you yourself will come to know what are the various other various other fields open to you for the research.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for letting me know.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Sir, we have one more question from Shishikant.
Yeah,
Sir,
Yeah,
please.
Mr.
good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah,
maybe the
just
question I might asking you, maybe not very out of syllabus, maybe similar to that. Just
yeah,
because just before asking you a question, I want to just say less than a line, because agriculture is our roots of our any country, especially in India. I just want
yeah.
to know how this AL or AI is applicable for our agricultural sector, because my father is a retired agriculture professor.
Okay.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, Abhay Kumar, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Just
no,
I
no,
want to
nothing.
just I want to add just a small point. If
Great.
if that is applicable to the agriculture sector, how I belong
Yes.
to a mechanical department. I'm a manufacturing
Mm,
design sector. Okay,
yeah,
how can it be? See, I have a farm, but I belong to Telangana region where there is the place where the land I belongs to is a drought area. They hardly get any rainfall. Just I
yeah,
want to just know how can I use this AI or AI gen or artificial learning to the agriculture sector linked with
yeah,
mechanical sector. I mean to say, for example, previously we used to use plow to dig a land, but nowadays
yeah,
artificially they have planted the trees and all that. No. So I want to just how
yeah.
can we? I'm not saying I'm in favor of the
No, no,
farmers
that's great, great.
who are up to the they're paying so much and they're getting less. So I want to know how that AI ML
Mhm.
is applicable to the agriculture farmers as well as the mechanical sector. Sorry.
That's great, Shashikant. I'm really happy to know your question, though I'm not an agriculture engineer or
No,
the
no, no.
person
I'm
from the
just
agriculture side. But
my father is
I
also
can tell
an
you something
agriculture.
about this. Yeah, I can definitely tell you something about this. We are also working in the rural sector for these medical applications. And luckily, I visited one farm where they have actually developed what is called as the precision agriculture. And there they say that on a mango tree they have monitored the water to be fed to that particular plant, then ultimately manure to be fed to that plant and all that. And he has shown me the plant which has got 1,000 oranges on the tree. I am really impressed with whatever he has done. He has shown that how he is monitoring and all that. Only thing which it was a bit problematic for me to look at is that he has used a lot of sensors, and all these sensors are imported. Ultimately, he has tried his best because he's from agricultural engineering. So he has tried his best to check that how much of water you should only give it to them, how much of manure to be fed, then when it's to be fed, and all this thing is monitoring through various aspects. And ultimately, that's how exactly the AI talks about. What is AI is nothing but use of the sensors to sense the data, generate the data, train the data again, and ultimately see that you are again modifying your whole process. So this is one of the applications which I have seen. But only thing is that a lot of financial resources is required to use this,
Yes.
and therefore very few farmers will be in a position to do that. That's number one.
Can I
Number
ask
two,
one
which
more
has
question?
been,
Can I
yeah,
ask you
yeah,
one more
yeah,
question? Sorry to interrupt.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Sorry. I just want to add that I'm being a mechanical department. I want to know how can I help this agriculture sector and AI linked to this? Sorry, this might be my PhD
Maybe
project, but I just want to know.
no, no. Actually, I think that the only thing as a mechanical engineer, what you can think about is that why don't you work in a field of drone technology? Because this use of the drones in agriculture hopefully can will be a very good topic, because the pesticides has to be sprinkled at the same time the weeds are to be taken out. All these things, can you get it done, executed through the drones, then the thing will be more productive. Because I don't know in Telangana districts or there in your state, but the human resources has become a big problem in agriculture sector. And most of them are facing the problem of the labor. So I think if you can think it from that order, I hope the thing will definitely move further. That's the only thing which I look at it, though I'm not an expert to look
This,
rather
this
answer.
means this is all our trial and error analysis.
Yeah. But you see, as I already mentioned to the earlier one person, enter into the domain, try to do something. All of a sudden, you will yourself will come to know. Oh, then I can do in this direction also. So, not doing anything, only thinking makes no sense. Do it, even if the people say that it is all foolish, doesn't matter. But then there and there itself, you will come to know that which is the best path to take, and see that the thing will move properly. So you will definitely get that. There is no issue about it.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Just I want to have some information related to my PhD project and link it with my agriculture
Yeah,
sector.
great. Really happy to answer. Maybe I don't know to what extent I answered it to your
It's like I got an
satisfaction.
abstract,
It was
but
interesting.
it need to be
Yeah,
detailed.
Yeah.
yeah. Please. I think
Thank you.
why don't you connect with some people from IIT Kharagpur, because IIT Kharagpur is the only institute where there is an agriculture engineering branch. So if you can connect to them, I hope that you will get the good
No,
information
no.
from them.
My father's university, that is Professor Jaishankar Agriculture University, Telangana State, is already linked with this. I'll just
Oh.
take
No, I
information
think from
from them.
engineering aspect, I think the IIT Kharagpur Agriculture Engineering Department will help you. No
Sure,
issue about
sure, sure, sir. I'll take your advice.
it.
Yeah. Thank you, Nishant.
Yeah,
Sir, yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable answer. Sir, I have a small,
great.
my experience which we have done. Just a small, a question from my side. I'm Madhuka,
Yeah,
organizer for this FDP. So
yeah.
I currently I have a center of excellence additive manufacturing headed by me in our
Okay,
college. So
okay.
generally, we train students on 3D printing, FDM technologies. In collaboration, we have
Yeah,
one Mako Technologies who is always
yeah,
supporting us in the training. So what happened is
yeah.
recently two teams from my lab
Yeah.
visited a hackathon,
Okay, okay,
mechanical hackathon on 3D printing
okay,
at
okay.
Usmania University. So what they presented is a human skull, a
Mm-hmm.
replica of human skull developed by two techniques. One is reverse engineering, one is CT scan.
Huh.
The question
Okay.
by one of the industrial person from DRDO, he has asked us, you can't reverse engineering a human part. Is that valid or we were like it can be also used some from what better we can do. Actually, we didn't both. We compared the reverse engineering technique and CT scan of a dry skull, which is collected from Kakatiya Medical College.
Okay, okay. I think the reverse engineering is to be used whenever the any part is to be replicated as a CAD model.
Okay.
So, I have already shown you one case study in my presentation
Yes,
where
sir.
I
Yes,
have
sir.
shown that the temporomandibular joint, that clay model I have shown.
Yes,
That
sir.
clay model, we have reverse engineered it actually, and then
Okay.
got the CAD model. So, in such scenario, it is okay. But when skull is already available and you can
Yeah.
get a CT scan report of that, I think then the reverse engineering is not a proper
Actually,
way
what?
of
Yeah,
getting
yeah. We done same, sir. We used a decom software to enhance that.
DICOM. Yeah.
But
DICOM images, DICOM
yeah, that
plasma,
we
yes.
have done it in my team. But what actually the medical PG scholar of Kakati Medical College have done is they have a
Yeah.
question: how dimensionally accurate is CT scan and reverse engineering? We have done that.
Uh,
The final
yeah.
the final result was CT scan is better. We
Yeah.
got
It is
that,
because, yeah, yeah.
but
No, it
we
is
also tried.
because, yeah, tell me. Yeah, tell me, sir. Tell me.
Because their professor in medical, he was in
Yeah.
assumption that why we are
Yeah.
not getting a reverse engineering scan as perfect as CT scan.
Yeah.
What
See,
his idea? Sir, what his idea was? He has some implant.
yeah,
Before
yeah,
fixing to the patient, he want to do a pre-surgical observation. So he's asking, I
yes,
can't get the CAD model. I can't do a CT scan
yeah.
for metal. So he said that whether I can do a reverse engineering technique. The problem was reason from that, and we have done the study.
Yeah, generally, when you talk about the reverse engineering, it is the number of points that you actually scan.
Yes,
The
sir.
more the number of points that you scan, the more perfect will be the model.
Yes, sir.
Now here, what happens, like the many times it happens that the number of points taken or the scanned are not sufficient enough to replicate that part as a CAD model, and therefore
Sure.
it gives you some different model than what is actually the model part is. So
Okay.
therefore, more points to be scanned itself is a big issue. So
Okay.
more the points you scan, I think the more perfect will be the part
Yeah. Yeah.
on the yes.
Okay. Okay. That's it. We were like when we are answering the hackathon, my team was in confusion. What we have done was wrong. Right? I said that I too don't have that knowledge. I thought you will be one good perfect person to answer this after giving your presentation.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
great,
reason
sir.
I
Thank
clear.
you.
Actually, the team which I have presented is currently the organizing students, and they are on the call. So
Okay,
they will
nice,
also get the
nice.
knowledge for the future use.
Great.
Sure,
That's
sure.
great. That's great.
Thank you. It was a
Sure.
very informative section, sir. We were like, this is one of
Oh,
the
great.
keynote speak for our FDP. You have covered all the three
Yeah.
points. Actually, we thought like we will cover some speakers will cover MI, some key speakers will cover a medical, some will cover additive. But it's glad that you covered all the points and made our FDP more informative, sir.
Oh, great. It's my pleasure. And I'll be really happy to know the feedback of all the faculty
Sure, sure.
participants.
Sure. I will share you all the feedback down. I will also, we are
Yeah.
also looking forward, like we kept you as a key speaker for the Atal FDP also, sir, which is in the process of
Okay.
sanction. We will
Yeah.
be very lucky if we get that and you be here to guide us. We are looking
Oh,
forward
that's
for
great.
it. Yeah,
That's
thank you,
great.
sir.
That's great.
Sir,
So,
Thank you.
namaste, Kute sir.
No, sir, no, sir.
I am your student, sir. I was in Ramtech, Maharashtra, and I did
Oh,
a
great.
MTech from VNIT.
Oh, that's great. I'm really happy to see you. Really
Yeah,
happy to hear
I
you.
did a project on roller bearings, sir.
Oh,
Computer-aided
great, great.
selection of bearings, etc.
Nice,
So
nice,
after
nice.
seeing that, I registered your name on this one particularly.
Very
So
nice to see the.
it is nice to see you, sir, after a long
Yeah,
time.
please do.
Yeah.
Yeah, please
I
do
was
come to
in
VNIT.
Kids Ramtech, sir. Kids Ramtech.
Yeah, yeah.
Hope you
Yeah,
remember me. I came to your home also at the
Yeah, yeah.
time.
I know.
Right, sir.
Yeah,
Right. Okay,
that's
right,
great.
sir.
That's
Thank you,
great.
sir. Thank you very much.
yeah,
Okay, so Dr. Madhukar, can I leave this
sure,
meeting now?
sure. Just I will give a vote of thanks and then we can close it
Okay,
down,
sure,
sir.
sure.
All participants, thank you. If you have any feedback, we will drop the mail of Kute sir. You can connect and drop. So it's a happy for like ending for the fourth day. Just give me a pleasure to drop the out of thanks for the day. So good afternoon, everyone. With a heart full of gratitude, I raise to deliver the vote of thanks on the behalf of the entire organizing team, faculty, students, management, and participants. We are truly honored and deeply thankful to Dr. Abhay Kumar Kute sir, Professor HAG, Higher Administrative Grade, Department of Mechanical Engineering, VNIT, Nagpur, for gracing this occasion with his presence and for sharing his profound insight with us today. Sir, your talk was nothing short of inspiring. Your pioneering work in the field of 3D printing for customized orthopedic implants and bone tissue engineering has left us in a wave. The way you have seamlessly blended engineering innovation with medical applications is a shining example of how research can directly serve humanity. Your remarkable journey from industry to academia, from guiding startups to delivering lectures at prestigious global institutions, is a testament of your vision, dedication, and relentless pursuit of excellence. We are especially grateful for the time, energy, and wisdom you generously shared with us today. Thank you for showing us what it truly means to be a researcher, educator, and change maker. Your presence has added immense value to this gathering, and we deeply privileged to have hosted you. I also extend sincere thanks to our respective faculty members, support team, technical team, and all those who have worked beyond the scenes to make this event successful. To the participants and students, your enthusiasm and engagement made this session more meaningful. With immense respect and appreciation, we thank you once again, Dr. Kute, for your inspiring presence